Imagine a mighty castle standing tall with thick walls. It's surrounded by brave knights defending it from attackers. But wait, the attackers have a secret weapon, siege weapons. These were giant machines designed to break down walls and conquer castles. Before these incredible machines, armies had a tough time breaking through strong defenses. They needed something powerful, something that could launch heavy objects over walls. That's where siege catapults came in. These weren't your average weapons. Catapults were engineering marvels of their time, capable of launching huge stones or even fiery projectiles. Siege catapults were like giant slingshots used in ancient and medieval warfare. Their main job? To hurl large objects at enemy fortifications, like those tall castle walls we talked about. Think of a catapult as a giant arm that swings forward with incredible force. At the end of this arm was a sling or a bucket that held the projectile. When released, the arm swung forward, using its stored energy to launch the projectile with amazing power. Have you ever used a slingshot? It's a simple yet fascinating tool that has been used for centuries. You pull back on the elastic, aim and release to launch a small object. The tension in the elastic stores energy, which is then transferred to the projectile, sending it flying through the air. Catapults worked in a similar way, but on a much larger scale. These ancient machines were engineering marvels, designed to hurl massive objects over great distances. Instead of an elastic band, catapults used different methods to store energy. Some used twisted ropes, which were wound tightly to create tension. Others used heavy weights which, when released, would swing down and transfer their energy to the throwing arm. This stored energy was suddenly released, propelling the arm forward and launching the projectile through the air. The mechanics were simple yet incredibly effective. The bigger the catapult, the larger and heavier the object it could launch. These machines were often used in sieges to break down walls or to throw projectiles over them. Some catapults were so powerful they could hurl stones weighing over 200 pounds. Imagine the force and impact of such a massive object crashing into a fortress wall. There were various types of catapults, each with its own unique design and mechanism. The ballista, for example, was like a giant crossbow, using tension to launch its projectiles. The ballista could launch large bolts or stones with great accuracy, making it a formidable weapon in ancient warfare. Another type was the onager, which used a single arm and a sling to hurl its projectiles. The onager's arm was powered by twisted ropes, similar to those used in other catapults. The trebuchet, perhaps the most famous of all, used a counterweight to launch its projectiles. The counterweight would drop, causing the throwing arm to swing upward and release the projectile. Trebuchets were capable of launching projectiles over long distances with incredible force. They were often used to breach the walls of castles and fortresses during sieges. Some catapults were even used to launch flaming projectiles, adding an extra element of destruction to their attacks. These fiery missiles could cause chaos and panic among the enemy. In some cases, catapults were used to launch diseased carcasses or other biological weapons, aiming to spread disease and weaken the enemy. The sheer power and versatility of catapults made them a crucial part of ancient warfare. They were not just tools of destruction, but also symbols of the ingenuity and resourcefulness of ancient engineers. From the simple slingshot to the mighty trebuchet, these devices have fascinated and inspired people for centuries. They remind us of a time when human creativity and engineering prowess were pushed to their limits in the pursuit of victory. So next time you use a slingshot, remember that you're holding a piece of history in your hands, a small but powerful reminder of the incredible machines that once dominated the battlefields of the past. Just like you have different types of cars, there were different types of catapults. Two of the most famous were the Mangonel and the Trebuchet. The Mangonel was like a giant spoon. It had a single arm with a bucket at the end. Twisted ropes provided the power to launch projectiles. The Trebuchet was even bigger and more powerful. It used a giant counterweight and a long arm to hurl massive stones. Trebuchets were like the heavy artillery of the medieval world. Catapults have been around for a long time. These powerful siege weapons have played a crucial role in warfare for centuries, evolving through different cultures and eras. The ancient Greeks were among the first to use them in warfare, around 400 BC. They were innovative in their approach to siege warfare, developing various types of catapults to gain an advantage over their enemies. They used catapults called gastrophetes and oxybeles to defend their cities. The gastrophetes, also known as the belly bow, was a handheld catapult that could launch projectiles with great force. The oxybeles, on the other hand, was a larger, more powerful version that could hurl heavier stones and darts. The Romans, known for their military might, also loved catapults. They recognized the strategic importance of these weapons and incorporated them into their formidable arsenal. They even had special names for them, like ballista and onager. The ballista was a giant crossbow that could shoot large bolts with deadly accuracy, while the onager was a type of catapult that used a sling to launch projectiles. Roman armies used catapults to conquer new lands and defend their vast empire. These siege weapons were essential in breaching the walls of enemy fortifications and ensuring Roman dominance across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. During the Middle Ages, catapults became even more important. As castles and fortified cities became the norm, the need for effective siege weapons grew. Castles were everywhere, and catapults were the perfect weapon to attack or defend them. They could launch massive stones, fiery projectiles, and even diseased carcasses to break down walls and spread chaos within the enemy's ranks. The trebuchet, in particular, became a symbol of medieval warfare. This powerful siege engine could hurl enormous stones over great distances, making it a formidable tool in any siege. Its counterweight mechanism allowed for precise targeting and devastating impact, often turning the tide of battle in favor of the attackers. The engineering behind the trebuchet was a marvel of medieval ingenuity. Engineers and craftsmen worked tirelessly to perfect these machines, ensuring they were both powerful and reliable. The sight of a trebuchet in action was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, as it could reduce even the strongest fortifications to rubble. Throughout history, the evolution of catapults and other siege weapons has been a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of military superiority. From the ancient Greeks to the mighty Romans, and through the turbulent Middle Ages, these machines have shaped the course of countless battles and altered the fate of empires. As we look back on the history of warfare, the catapult stands out as a symbol of innovation and power. Its legacy continues to inspire and fascinate, reminding us of the incredible feats of engineering and strategy that have defined human conflict through the ages. Imagine a medieval siege. The air is thick with tension, the ground trembles under the weight of marching soldiers, and the sound of clashing metal echoes through the valley. An army surrounds a castle, determined to capture it. The soldiers are resolute, their eyes fixed on the towering walls that stand between them and victory. But the castle is well defended, with high walls and brave soldiers. Archers line the battlements, ready to rain arrows down on any who dare approach. The defenders are prepared for a long and grueling battle. What to do? Bring in the catapults. These massive siege engines were the game changers of medieval warfare, capable of turning the tide of battle with their sheer power. Catapults were essential in siege warfare. They could hurl projectiles over great distances, breaching walls and causing chaos within the enemy ranks. They could launch a variety of projectiles, each with a specific purpose. The versatility of catapults made them invaluable on the battlefield. Stones to smash down walls and gates. These massive boulders could cause significant structural damage, creating breaches for the attacking forces to exploit. Fireballs to set buildings on fire. The sight of flaming projectiles arcing through the sky was both terrifying and devastating, capable of igniting wooden structures and spreading panic among the defenders. Dead animals to spread disease among the defenders. This gruesome tactic aimed to weaken the enemy from within, causing illness and lowering morale. Catapults could also be used defensively. The defenders too had their own siege engines ready to repel the attackers. Defenders could launch projectiles at the attackers, trying to break up their formations and drive them away. The battle was a test of endurance, strategy, and engineering prowess. The mechanics of catapults were fascinating. These machines relied on tension, torsion, or counterweights to launch their deadly payloads. And each type of catapult had its own unique design and method of operation. Building a catapult required skilled engineers and craftsmen. The construction process was complex, involving precise calculations and robust materials to ensure the catapult could withstand the immense forces at play. Transporting these massive machines to the battlefield was no small feat. It required careful planning and coordination, as well as a dedicated team of soldiers to move and assemble the catapults. Once in position, catapults became the focal point of the siege. Their relentless bombardment could wear down even the most fortified defenses, paving the way for the final assault. As the walls crumbled and the gates splintered, the attacking army would surge forward, seizing the opportunity created by the catapults. The clash that followed was brutal and decisive. The aftermath of a siege was often grim. The battlefield was littered with debris and the wounded, a stark reminder of the catapult's destructive power. Yet, in the annals of history, these machines are remembered as symbols of ingenuity and might. For centuries, catapults ruled the battlefield. But as technology advanced, a new weapon emerged that would change warfare forever: the cannon. Cannons, which used gunpowder to fire heavy iron balls, were more accurate and powerful than catapults. They could also be produced more easily and cheaply. By the 15th century, cannons had largely replaced catapults as the weapon of choice. The age of the catapult was coming to an end. Although catapults are no longer used in warfare, they remain an important part of history. They remind us of the ingenuity of our ancestors and the constant evolution of technology. Today, you can still see catapults at museums and historical sites. Some people even build and operate replica catapults, recreating the excitement of medieval warfare, but with much safer projectiles. Catapults may be a thing of the past, but their legacy lives on, reminding us of the power of human invention and the ever-changing face of warfare.